The date is August 12, 2026. Toronto, Canada. The National Bank Open is in full swing, and Alexandra Ela, the 21-year-old Filipina sensation, has just been eliminated from the tournament. She has fallen to Belinda Bencic, the Swiss veteran, in a dominant 6-4, 6-0 victory that snapped her 7-match winning streak. The loss is devastating, but the real story is not on the court. It is in the stands, where a sea of Philippine flags has transformed the stadium into a wall of noise. It is in the commentary booth, where a respected tennis analyst has just delivered a statement that will spark a firestorm of controversy. Rennae Stubbs, former world #1 doubles player and coach of Serena Williams, has slammed Ela's fans for their behavior during the match. She has accused them of not understanding tennis etiquette, of screaming during points, of creating an unfair environment for opponents. The comments have sparked a massive backlash. The Filipino community is furious. The tennis world is divided. And the question on everyone's lips is simple. Are Alex Eala's fans good for tennis, or are they ruining the sport? This is the story of that controversy. This is the story of the commentator's harsh words. This is the story of the reaction that has the tennis world talking. Face screaming in fear Philippines. Before the controversy, there was the rise. And what a rise it had been. Alexandra Ela's journey from the cracked courts of Quezon City to the bright lights of the National Bank Open was nothing short of miraculous. She had started her career as a promising young player from a country with virtually no tennis infrastructure. The Philippines had never produced a tennis star of her caliber. The country's sporting identity was defined by basketball and boxing, with Manny Pacquiao as the ultimate national hero. Tennis was a niche sport, played primarily by the wealthy elite in exclusive clubs. But Alex was about to change all of that. Her journey began at the Rafa Nadal Academy in Manacor, Spain, where she trained from a young age. The academy, founded by the 22-time Grand Slam champion, became her second home. It was there that she honed her skills, developed her game, and learned what it took to compete at the highest level. By 2026, Alex had become the first Filipino, man or woman, to win a WTA Tour singles event. She had defeated world #3 Jessica Pegula in the Washington final, a victory that catapulted her into the global spotlight. She had reached the 4th round of Wimbledon, defeating defending champion Iga Swiatek on center court. She had climbed to a career-high #18 in the world. The Philippines had never seen anything like it. But Ela's influence extended far beyond the tennis court. She had become the biggest draw in women's tennis, perhaps in all of tennis. In Toronto, she sold out stadiums. In Dubai, fans screamed and cheered as if watching a rock concert. The Ela effect was not just about tennis. It was about a cultural phenomenon that was sweeping the globe. The Filipino community had embraced her like no other athlete. They had traveled from across North America to support her. They had filled stadiums, waved flags, and created an atmosphere that even the most experienced players found overwhelming. Ela had increasingly drawn comparisons to boxing legend Manny Pacquiao. She had acknowledged the comparison with characteristic humility. I think I'm still very, very far from the levels of Pacquiao. He's done a lot for us athletes, I think, to pave the way. But she had also embraced the responsibility that came with it. She was not just playing for herself. She was playing for a nation. And that weight was both empowering and exhausting. The pressure of being a national hero was immense. As one analyst noted, when we treat a teenage prospect as a cultural milestone rather than a developing worker in a brutal, hyper-competitive global industry, we set them up for a specific kind of burnout. But Ela seemed to thrive on the pressure. She had shown that she could handle the weight of expectation. She had shown that she could compete with the best in the world. And she had shown that she was ready for the biggest stages of all. Her success in Toronto was a testament to her talent, her work ethic, and her unwavering belief in herself. The controversy began with comments made by Rennae Stubbs, a former world #1 doubles player and coach of Serena Williams, on her podcast, the Rennae Stubbs Tennis Podcast. Stubbs, who had been watching Ela's matches in Toronto, offered her thoughts on the Filipinas fans and their raucous support. The commentators were saying that they don't really understand the sport of tennis yet, because they are so new to it, because of the phenomenon of Alex Eala, Stubbs said. So they are screaming at times when it's in the middle of the point, and they are getting very excited. Stubbs went on to explain her perspective, drawing a comparison to her experiences in China. I have to say that even in China, when I went there for the first time and they had not had tennis there professionally, and even at the Olympics, it was like they did not understand tennis etiquette that much. They would scream in the middle of the point or say stuff in between first and second serves, and it was like they don't understand the etiquette of tennis. But Stubbs also acknowledged the positive side of the phenomenon. I am all for the excitement, the Australian continued. There is nothing more exciting than what we are getting every time she walks on the court. She noted that even the players themselves are recognizing the uniqueness of the atmosphere. Caty McNally said to her after the match, "Thank you for letting me be a part of this." So even the tennis players that have been out here a long time are realizing that this is an atmosphere that you probably have never played in front of ever, except maybe Serena in New York the last time she played there. Stubbs concluded with a prediction about Ela's future impact. Alex Eala is going to bring so many young kids to the sport of tennis, and that is only going to make this sport grow even more. Despite her positive conclusion, Stubbs' comments about Ela's fans not understanding tennis etiquette and screaming during points quickly went viral, sparking a massive backlash from the Filipino community. The criticism was not just about noise. It was about a fundamental question: who gets to decide how tennis should be enjoyed? The moment Stubbs' comments circulated online, the Filipino community responded with fury. Fans, who had invested their hopes, dreams, and pride in Ela, felt that Stubbs had unfairly criticized them. Social media was flooded with angry responses. One fan wrote, "Shame on the news anchor and the guest for obviously lacking research. If you are going to represent Filipinos in Canada, make sure you do your due diligence on Filipino representation. She speaks the language because she is Filipino." Another was blunter. "They probably are both ignoramus, that's why." A tabloid journalist pretending she knows what she's talking about, and a guest agreeing to a stupid notion about Ela. Pathetic duo. Others argued that the criticism was a double standard. American crowds have crossed lines for decades when home players were involved. Argentine fans have always brought a different level of football-style intensity. Polish fans around IGA Swiatek can be wonderfully loyal, but some also pushed the edge during the Canadian Open. Some fans pointed out that the energy Ela's supporters bring to the sport is a net positive. "Filipino fans are supporting big and supporting really deep," said Abby Albino, co-founder of Rise Tribe. The debate was no longer just about tennis manners. It had become a question of whether the sport is truly ready for a new audience that does not necessarily look, sound, or behave like the traditional fan base. And the anger was a testament to the power of representation. Ela's fans were not just angry about the criticism. They were angry about what the criticism represented: a tendency to dismiss athletes from underrepresented countries and their supporters. The outrage was not just about defending Ela. It was about defending their right to exist in a space that had not always welcomed them. The tennis world was divided in its reaction to Stubbs' comments. Some agreed with her assessment, arguing that Ela's fans needed to learn the sport's etiquette. They pointed to instances where Filipino supporters had shouted during points, reacted loudly to line calls, and sometimes cheered opponent errors. "There is nothing more exciting than what we are getting every time she walks on the court," Stubbs said. "But when you know you are playing Alex Eala, you are not just playing a very, very good player." Objectively, I would say 70% of people that are coming to watch her match are going to be fully against you. Others defended Ela's fans, pointing out that passion and enthusiasm should be welcomed, not condemned. Tennis does not need to become quieter in personality. There is room for excitement and joy in the stands. Some commentators noted that Ela's fans are not the first group to bring a new energy to the sport. Argentine fans have always brought a different level of football-style intensity. Polish fans around IGA Swiatek can be wonderfully loyal. The U.S. Open has produced some of the most chaotic crowd behavior in the sport for years, especially when American players are involved. The irony was not lost on observers. Etiquette had become a bigger talking point when the noisy fans were new, foreign, or attached to a rising player from outside the traditional tennis powers. The criticism was not about the behavior itself, but about who was doing it. And that made the controversy even more painful for the Filipino community. Perhaps the most significant aspect of the controversy was the perspective of the players themselves. While fans and commentators debated the issue, the athletes on the court had their own views. Jessica Pegula, who had faced Ela in the Washington final, admitted that the atmosphere was not fun to play against. Pegula struggled to deal with the partisan crowd and checked out mentally during the match. But other players were more positive. Caty McNally, who lost to Ela in the previous round, said she was grateful for the experience. She told Ela after the match, "Thank you for letting me be a part of this." It was a sign that even the athletes who lost to Ela recognized the significance of the atmosphere. Belinda Bencic, who defeated Ela in the round of 16, said she had mentally prepared for the atmosphere and that the cheering did not particularly bother her. She handled the partisan crowd better than Pegula had. The players' reactions underlined the strange contradiction surrounding the Ela phenomenon. The athletes on the court could deal with the atmosphere, but some observers could not. The players understood that the energy was part of the sport's evolution. The observers wanted to preserve the past, and that tension was at the heart of the controversy. While critics complained about the noise, the numbers told a different story. Ela's influence had become a financial phenomenon. In Toronto, tickets for her matches became hot commodities, even with established stars also appearing on the schedule. During Ela's Washington run, tournament owner Mark Ein revealed that a massive share of ticket inquiries revolved around when the Filipina star would play. In Toronto, her matches again attracted huge Filipino support, with Philippine flags and handmade signs scattered throughout the venue. Ela is no longer simply a promising player with a loyal home country following. She is becoming a genuine attraction. When one player can move ticket demand, mobilize diaspora communities, and create noticeably different atmospheres in international tournaments, organizers pay attention. So do sponsors. So does television. And sooner or later, so does the entire sport. The Ela effect extends beyond the grandstands. Back in the Philippines, her rise has inspired a fresh wave of interest in tennis among children, teenagers, and adults. Courts that were once relatively easy to book have reportedly become busier. New players are taking lessons. Social media is filled with Filipinos posting about racket sports and trying tennis for the first time. That may eventually prove more important than any single trophy. The growth of the sport depends on new fans, and Ela was bringing them in droves. As the controversy swirled, the Philippine Tennis Association, PHILTA, responded with a practical solution. It released a tennis etiquette guide, designed to help new fans understand the sport's customs and traditions. The guide's message was simple: support Ela, but understand the stage she is playing on. Make her matches feel alive, but do not make them unfair. Bring pride, but not disruption. The guide included a simple but powerful line: applaud skills, not errors. It reminded fans to cheer for good tennis rather than taking joy in an opponent's mistakes. But the PHILTA guide also sent a broader message. It should not be read as a Filipino-only correction. It should be read as a reminder the sport could use almost everywhere. The problem is not only Filipino fans. Anyone who has watched enough tennis knows better. The U.S. Open has produced some of the most chaotic crowd behavior in the sport for years, especially when American players are involved. Argentina has also brought fan culture into tennis in ways that can be thrilling and uncomfortable at the same time. During the Canadian Open, some Swiatek fans also seemed to tread close to that same line. The Ela effect had forced a wider conversation about how the sport handles passionate new audiences, and the PHILTA guide was a step toward bridging the gap. Throughout the controversy, Alexandra Ela remained composed. She did not lash out at the critics. She did not fuel the fire. She simply focused on her tennis. After her loss to Bencic, Ela acknowledged the incredible support she had received. She spoke in Tagalog, thanking her countrymen. Maraming salamat mga kababayan sa lahaing ginawa niyo para sa akin ngayong linggo dito sa Toronto, sa Washington. Parati kayong sumasuporta, nagdadasal, nagpupuyat kaya tuloy-tuloy akong nagdatrabaho. Thank you very much to my countrymen for everything you did for me this week in Toronto, in Washington. You always support, pray, stay up late, so I will continue to work hard. Ela's response was a masterclass in diplomacy. She showed that she could handle the pressure of being a national hero. She acknowledged her fans without appearing to take sides in the controversy. She remained focused on her tennis, and she proved that no amount of criticism would define her. Her silence was louder than any words could be. The controversy over Rennae Stubbs' comments about Alex Eala's fans was more than just a media firestorm. It was a lesson in the power of representation. It was a reminder that tennis is changing. It was a sign that the sport is becoming more global, more diverse, and more passionate. Alexandra Ela represents that change. She represents hope. She represents resilience. She represents the belief that no dream is too big, no obstacle too great, no challenge too difficult to overcome. For decades, the Philippines has been a country that has been overlooked on the world stage. Its people have been told that they are too small, too poor, too insignificant to compete with the giants of the world. But Alex Eala is changing that narrative. She is showing the world that Filipinos can compete on the global stage, that Filipinos can succeed, that Filipinos can be champions. Stubbs' criticism was a reminder that the sport's traditionalists are still adjusting to this change. But it was also a reminder of the power of the Ela effect. She is not just a tennis player. She is a movement, a symbol of hope, a reminder that no dream is too big, no obstacle too great, no challenge too difficult to overcome. The tennis world is watching. The fans are believing. And Alexandra Ela is just getting started. From the cracked courts of Quezon City to the sold-out stadiums of Toronto and Cincinnati. From the cover of Forbes to the bright lights of the U.S. Open. Her journey has defied every expectation. And no commentator's criticism, no controversy, and no fleeting backlash will ever dim the light of a true champion. This is not the end. This is only the beginning.